Welcome to the Ponca City Podcast. I'm your host, Andy. Thanks for joining us. This is our very first podcast. I'm very excited. And I thought since it's our first podcast, we would have a guest who is very important to the podcast, who's very important to Ponca City Monthly, and that is the owner and CEO and Editor-in-Chief, Kelsey Wagner.
I'm so excited to be here.
It's a very exciting time. We've been working on this podcast for a minute to get it off the ground.
We have. There's a lot that goes into the behind the scenes of putting something like this together.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been like 2 years since we started initially talking about it?
Yes. It's been a while, and we've been talking about it and working on it, and it's so exciting to launch it and really have something that I feel like is going to really enrich the magazine experience in a whole new way.
Yeah, absolutely. So in addition to that title, you also have owner and CEO of My Media Matters, which is the publishing company that puts out puts out Ponca City Monthly, but it also does a whole lot more. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so My Media Matters, I think people don't always associate that with Ponca City Monthly. Ponca City Monthly is in every household. People love it. But if you look on that the table of contents page, you'll see My Media Matters is the publishing company. So My Media Matters actually came first. My Media Matters was established by me in 2017, and we do web design, graphic design, social media management, and we're really just a digital media company. And we kind of evolve as the world evolves. You know, technology changes every day, every month. And so we offer all different kinds of products to people here locally or nationwide. We do all kinds of stuff.
And you actually sort of started out writing for other companies. Is that correct?
I did, yeah. So when I first became a writer, I've always loved writing. I've always been passionate about writing. And I could not get a job at a newspaper. I had applied to all of them. And so I just started doing freelance work for different companies and individuals in Ponca City. So that was kind of my first foray into writing here.
And what would be a typical writing gig that you would get? Because I was a freelance writer, but I was a journalist writer, so I was interviewing people and writing about them.
Yes.
It never occurred to me to go to businesses and try to get to freelance. So what were you doing?
So one of the first articles I can remember writing was way back, and I think it must have been 2000 and, what year would that have been? I don't know, 2012. And so I was working for Pioneer Technology Center, and I was doing a press release about the company Dorada. They were coming to town. Ponca City Development Authority had given them an incentive, and they needed to do a big press release about that. And so I wrote a big write-up about that. And that was, I think, one of the very first articles I wrote as a freelance, journalist. So
nice. So what inspired you to become a writer? Where did you get the writing bug from?
Yeah. So I think as all kids do, we kind of do a lot of different things and until we figure out what we enjoy. And I remember when I was in 6th grade, we had a teacher who was very passionate about reading and writing, and she had assigned an assignment to us to write a poem. And I'd never really written poetry, and I wrote this poem, and everybody had turned it in. And she had written I can see it to this day. She had written in red ink, and she said, "You have such a way with words." And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm good at this. And she actually asked me to read it in front of the whole school at an assembly. And that was kind of the first time that I thought, this is really something I can, invest in and grow. And so I was hooked ever since that point.
But you also went to college. You have a journalism degree, right?
Yes, correct. I went to Northern Oklahoma College for my degree in journalism, and then the University of Oklahoma for a degree in administrative leadership.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So do you remember, I know you said that your first freelance article, but do you remember the very first article you wrote?
I actually was thinking about this the other day, and there was this was actually before 6th grade. This was in 3rd grade. And we had this little new classroom newsletter. And I remember writing this little bitty article about, I was supposed to write a review on a Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen book. And so that was my very first article I ever wrote before I even had the writing bug. But yeah.
Nice. That's great. Looking back, we are now, so this issue that we're coming up on for the March issue is special because it's our 60th issue.
It is. It's a very special issue.
Anything in these 60 issues that has been a standout moment for you where you stopped and thought, this is why I became a publisher?
Yeah. So one of the things I really love about the magazine is just the combination between great stories, but also great style and design. And I get to work with some of the best photographers in Ponca City and Kay County. And my favorite photo shoot that we've ever done was at the Marlin Mansion. And this was just a styled photo shoot. And there were all these amazing, people who had been doing some modeling that had worked with photography by Jess. And so there we were at the Marlin Mansion doing this beautiful, gorgeous photo shoot. And I got those photos back. And I just remember thinking, like, I can't believe I get to do this. Like, this is my job. And I cannot imagine anything more fun than just working with other creative people, telling stories about the town that I love. And just, it's so much fun. And it changes every day. My life is just, it's very exciting.
Very cool. Was that for the 5 under 40 or was that for a...
No,
that was for
So I do work with photography by Jess on all the 5 under 40, and that we'll have our next cover for that next month in April. But we had done a Marlin Gala. It was a December maybe 2022.
Right.
And so we had done a full-blown styled shoot of the Marlin Mansion. And it was this beautiful cover of the Marlin Mansion kind of in the backdrop. And then, a beautiful woman in a dress. And she's kind of leading her date to the Marlin Gala. So it was a great photo shoot.
Yeah. I remember laying that out. It was it was a great story to get to lay out with all those beautiful pictures and stuff.
Yes. So classy and just very, just beautiful.
Yeah. So what made you want to start a magazine in a town like this?
Yeah, so I was in yearbook in high school, and I've always kind of had a taste for layout and design, and I just remember thinking, how can I ever apply that to the real world? When I was born in the wrong decade, because I was born during the time when kind of print was declining, or so I thought. But once I started my Media Matters, I was over at City Central, and I was, I think, 2 years into my Media Matters. And one day this guy came walking into my office, and he actually ran a digital media company in Moore, Oklahoma. And he said, "Hey, you don't know me. I'm here for a meeting, but my company does a magazine in our town. I think a magazine would work so well in Ponca City." Wow. And I just thought, you know what? I think I can do that. Like, I really think I could do that. And he, kind of showed me what they do. We went down and toured their facilities, and I asked him a million questions. And I took a couple months to really do some soul searching. And I just thought that it felt like I could feel it in my gut saying, "Kelsey, that you can do this." So we set a date, and I, hired some people and got my funding in place, and the rest is history, as they say.
Wow. That's an impressive story.
Yeah.
That's great. I think, I don't remember. I always wanted to be in the newspaper and magazine and media industry.
Yes.
I think I always had a passion for it. And mine started, I was on the high school newspaper.
Yes.
And so that's where for me it started. And it just kind of grew from there. We had a lot of little newsprint magazines around Tulsa where I grew up. And so I always gravitated toward those because they were like the music magazines. They were where all the entertainment stuff was. And so I gravitated toward that. And as soon as I got out of high school, I went to one of those papers and begged for a job.
Aww, yeah.
And so that's how I got into it. And I remember my first story was the first story I got published in like a real like adult magazine,
a real one.
Yeah. It was a story on the pet parade. Yeah, it was a very intense story. I did a lot of research on pets and parades. And
that sounds exciting.
Yeah, it was. My very first article I wrote that got published was in the Sand Springs Leader.
Yeah.
I'm from Sapulpa. So the Sand Springs Leader was the next biggest town.
Yeah.
And so I wrote a story about the fall foliage.
Oh,
so
yes.
That was a very exciting
Yeah, and probably my first real article in a real publication, I was on the Maverick. The Maverick is a magazine for the NOC campus. And so my first article for that was they had like some young Republicans and young Democrat groups. And so I got assigned to write about those. And that was probably my first real article. But it's exciting to see your name in print and knowing that people are going to read your work. So
Yes, I still have the very first magazine that I was published in, but I have to admit that I've been published so many times that over the years you just can't keep every magazine.
yes, you can't.
You're gonna get to experience that because I know that you like to keep back issues of the magazine.
I do.
And yeah,
I'm getting to that point.
Like it's like, oh, you're 60 in.
Yeah.
So now it's gonna get to where it's like, okay.
It's crazy that it's been 5 years. Like 5 years has gone by so fast. And every issue, really, I say this, but they are my favorite issues. We just continue to up the game and continue to think outside the box. But gosh, 5 years, it doesn't seem possible. And you've been doing layout and design for us for 3 years.
Right. Yeah. No, 4.
4 years.
Yeah,
okay.
4.
Oh my
I've
gosh.
been there
That's
for
right. That's right.
most of it.
Yeah.
I wanted to discuss a little bit about some of the covers I've designed.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to add up, and I think I counted out that I'm at 46.
Wow.
I'm at 46 of your 60 covers.
So what's your favorite cover you've ever designed?
You know, as a designer, my art and my what I like about my art changes every month. You know,
right.
so like
Yeah.
to me, whatever was the last thing is the best thing I did.
Yeah, makes sense.
But I think most recently the January cover was a really great cover with
Yes.
the little libraries.
Oh yes, that was, and it was so colorful.
Yeah.
I love those bright, colorful ones.
I loved the color of it, and I loved just the way it looked and just all the colors and different things like that. So I thought it was really good.
That is, and we didn't tell her to wear a tie-dye shirt, but she did, and it just matched the vibe so perfect. So I love when those things work out.
Yeah, and a little behind the scenes is we didn't actually plan that to be the cover until like the very last second.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
We were going through and we had different stories, and for an image to be a cover image, it has to not only be a good quality picture, but it also has to tell a story within itself.
Right.
And so a lot of the other pictures that we were considering for the cover, we just didn't feel like they had the strength of that. And then and people love to see people on the cover. We've had covers that don't have people, and some of them are good, but there's just something about seeing a human and making that human connection and telling that story. So we always love to have people. Yeah. Like I said, the covers, but I think this cover that's coming up in the March issue, I really enjoyed making that. It was a very colorful.
Beautiful.
There are just times when I'm taking photos that I like just a specific composition. I like lots of textures in the composition. Yeah. And so I felt like that particular photo brought in a lot of composition from the chair to the background. It was a really beautiful place.
Even her hair color and her skin tone color, everything worked so well on that picture.
Yeah.
So great job.
Yeah, that was one of those where I had to use the manual flash, and so I was scared.
Yeah, because it was dark, right?
It was very dark.
Yeah.
I started taking pictures, and the human eye and the camera eye are two totally different things.
Yes.
We see things and it's like, oh, it's bright enough. And then you start taking pictures and it's like, you can't even see them.
Yeah.
So,
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it worked out pretty good. So let's talk a little bit about, we've made some changes to our website.
Yeah,
we have.
The
Ponca City Monthly website. And that's really where we're kind of starting the podcast and kind of leading with it.
Yeah.
But we're going to be making a lot of changes. Do you want to talk some about that?
Yeah. So last year in January, we switched everything over to a new platform. And what we had done before is just, okay, you can access the articles online, but we're really trying to reach an audience with our online presence that, maybe just wants to experience these stories in a variety of different ways. And so this new software really enables us to deliver it and have a different experience. It's a very rich experience. We've got a lot of options. They're always updating things every single month. And, we've already had a lot of great success. A lot of people have signed up for our Ponca City Monthly Plus, which is our new online experience. And, Ponca City Monthly Plus podcast is one of the new ways that we're delivering content.
So one of the big elephants in the room is that when we switch platforms and we switch our website, we went to a paid platform. Do you want to address about what was the incentive for going to a paid platform?
Yeah, so when we switched over to the new website, it really gave us a lot of new tools to use. And what I love about this is this actually gives regular individual people the opportunity to support our journalism. Everywhere I go, I get feedback from people. We love Ponca City Monthly. We think it's amazing. It tells so many great stories. And so by signing up for Ponca City Monthly Plus, you can support Ponca City Monthly in a way that they haven't been able to before. So it's a really great way for us to, connect with our readers and for them to access these articles in a variety of different ways, rather just than in print, which is the only way that they've been able to before.
Right, because our print edition is supported completely by advertisers. That's why it's free.
Yes.
We have advertisers that have been with us since the very beginning. And we love them a lot. But this is just a different avenue where we can put out different content in a variety, like you said, a variety of ways. We can do podcasts like this, we can do videos, and we can also write digital articles that will just go out to just our subscribers.
Yeah, and there are sometimes opportunities. People say, oh, you're going to run out of articles. Well, no, that we have the opposite problem. We have way too many articles, too many topics, and a lot of times we cannot fit them all in the magazine. And so the great thing about Ponca City Monthly Plus, especially because our timelines, we are always working a month ahead. If we have an article or we have a topic that we want to publish, but it can't fit in the magazine or time-wise it doesn't work, we can actually put that on Ponca City Monthly Plus and still get that information out to our readers without it having to be in print. So it's a great supplement to our print publication.
Right, because I think that most people don't understand, and it's just been my experience with being a writer for the magazine, that people, whenever I go to them and say, I'll get a call like on, the last day of the month. And they're like, can we get this in the magazine? And it's like, well, no, the magazine goes to print about on the 15th or on the 20th. You know, we always send it out the door. So I think people don't understand the timings that we have to hit. And so this allows us to be able to have more fluidity with being able to publish stories that kind of come in late.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think people realize that we've been working on the March issue for 2 months, assigning stories to the writers. And, so our April magazine deadline is March 5th for the content. And then there's a whole bunch. So yeah, it's a very, complicated process. We're really good at it. We've been doing it for a long time. So we're a really well-oiled machine, but we have to stay on deadline. And in order to stay on deadline, we have to work way ahead. So yeah, the Ponca City Monthly Plus gives us way more flexibility.
Right. So as we were talking about the March issue, let's roll into that and talk a little bit about that. Because this is one feature that you're going to get every month where we're going to dissect the magazine and tell you a little bit about what goes on behind the scenes. And also, if you haven't got out and picked up the magazine, to give you a little preview of what's going on. And the March issue is pretty special.
It is pretty special. So not only is it the 60th issue, which is just an amazing milestone, but our cover story, this lady, Jane Sutter, she's something special. And this is part of our Where Are They Now kind of feature series. Most of our Where Are They Now have been written by Marlis Cervantes. And what we do with that is if there's someone who lived in Ponca City, grew up in Ponca City, or has a Ponca City connection, they moved away, they did amazing stuff, and they've come back. We like to just share with them, what have they done? What amazing world-changing work have they done? And Jane Sutter is just an amazing woman. And it's funny because we originally were going to make this a cover, and then we changed our mind. We were going to do something else. And so she actually didn't know that she was on the cover. And so Marlis texted her the day that the magazine came out and surprised her and said, hey, look, you're on the cover. And Jane said it was her birthday and it was the best birthday gift. So that was a fun surprise.
That's awesome. And again, it goes back to like what we were talking about with the January issue. Sometimes it's not until the very last second that we know that this is the right story to be the cover. And we really have to go on our gut. Like, that's what I love about kind of creative design people. Sometimes we can't even
pinpoint why we know something. We're just like I have a feeling this is the right thing. And we really have to trust our instincts on that.
Yeah. And sometimes we go round and round on it.
Sometimes. No, not us.
I felt, after I took the photograph, I felt that was the cover that should have been. But we had another cover in mind, and so I just diligently worked on it to make it the best it could be. And now that cover is actually on the letters from the editor page.
Yes, it is. So we wanted to do a special, like a 60th, issue cover, and you mocked up a beautiful, beautiful cover. But I thought it was funny because you went and did that photo shoot, and then you said, hey, maybe we should do this as the cover. I'm like, okay, mock them both up. And the minute you sent it to me, I was like, that's it. So we moved the 60th kind of issue special to the letter from the editor page, and it all worked out beautifully.
Another great article that I think we have this month is the Centennial of the Lutheran Church.
Yes. Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So the first Lutheran church turned 100 years old, and I love that church, and I love that what they did to help celebrate is that they did 100 gifts to the community, and so they celebrated by giving back to the community, and I think that's such a compelling story to tell. So that's one of the reasons we told that in the magazine.
Yeah, and I think as a magazine goes, we have these moments where we have writers who will entirely write the magazine, and this month was definitely a Marlis.
It was. And it's funny because we have all these wonderful writers between our contributing writers, our staff writers, and even though they're all writing different stuff, they kind of have different things that they specialize in. And so Marlis really shines when she's writing about spirituality or human connection. And so, Marlis did a great job, and she's got some great features this month.
Yeah. One great feature that we like to include is always a business overview or a business spotlight. And this month it was Cast Iron Co. They've just recently changed over to a new owner.
They did, yes. And they are doing some big things. So we thought it was time to just give them a feature, let people, help people discover who the new owners are, and just talk about what they want to feature and how it's going to be different under them. So,
Nice. So one story that we have this month, and I have to say, sometimes stories just get shoved in the paper, and this was definitely a story that just got shoved in. But that being said, it is one of my favorite stories because this is a park. We wrote a story about the Call Lake renovation.
Yes.
And they have done some amazing, amazing stuff at the Call Lake Overlook.
Yes.
And this story was just a filler story. And it's one of my favorites because, like I said, I go there and hike every day. And I have been there since they first broke ground on the project. So I've seen it from the beginning to the end. And so it's really great to see it all wrap up.
Yeah.
And I think we have some great photos. And I think people need to check that out.
They do. Yeah. I mean, Ponca Lake is a wonderful addition to Ponca City, but Call Lake is so beautiful. The fact that we have two lakes in Ponca City is just so amazing. And I know a lot of people go out to the lake. A lot of people like to hike. And so definitely go out and check it out. Read the article and then go check it out.
Yeah, because they have turned it into a fitness course. They've paved it. Whenever I took my little tiny Pomeranian out there, it was just a mowed track. And it was rugged, it was rough, it was terrible.
Yeah.
But we started walking it, and then just over the course of the years, we've watched it where they started, they first went and bulldozed everything to make it was still very muddy, but then they added the track, and now they've added fitness equipment. So it's a really great place, and I hope everybody goes out and checks it out.
Now, I know your Pomeranian loved hiking. Do your new two dogs love hiking?
So yes, in the sense that they like to go, but my hiking dog, the one that I actually am trying to train to be a hiking dog, she just doesn't care.
Is that Maya?
That's Maya.
Okay.
Yeah, she just doesn't care. Like she's fine going hiking, but she would just rather lay on the couch and watch television.
We all know.
So we also this month have a couple of new features.
We do, yes.
Some new columnists coming in.
Yeah, I'm always on the lookout for new contributing writers. And just to help people understand the difference between a contributing writer and a staff writer is our staff writers get assignments and then they'll go out and interview people and turn in their stories. Our contributing writers have a column, and so it's usually something that they specialize in or something written kind of in their voice. So some of our contributing writers that we have that are new-ish is Liz Threckeld with Sunnyside. She's with Sunny Creek Trading Post, but her article is called The Sunnyside, and she talks about homesteading and gardening and just all things kind of natural and growing things. She's been a great addition to the magazine. We've got Relo Adams. He's writing our mental health minute, and we just felt like that was something that was a genre that was kind of lacking, and so he always writes about how, a different topic related to mental health. But our two newest contributing writers are Jeff McKinnon. And if you know Jeff McKinnon, he's a hilarious guy. And I've been talking to him for several months about, is there anything you think you could, write about humor-wise in the magazine? And so he came up with this. It's called Encounters of the Working World. And he is just going to talk about all the different funny encounters he's had during his working life. So this one is his first issue, the March issue. It's already hilarious, and so I can't wait to see what other stories he tells. And then our other brand new contributing writer is Tara Frederick, and she is writing about kind of overcoming hardship and some personal things that have happened to her, and she's just very charismatic, and I love her positive outlook on life. It's going to be a really great addition.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think people like I said, Jeff's column is very funny.
Yeah.
I read it as I was laying it out, and great stuff. And Tara's is very uplifting.
Yeah.
So yeah, great stuff. But we also have our tried and true. Like, how long has Stu on this? Has that been in the magazine since the very first issue?
Stu on that is one of the OGs. So she has been in the magazine since the very first issue in April 2020. Her Brace books, our book reviews, they have both been in since the very, very beginning. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. Well, Patrick Jordan, who is our crossword, our incredible crossword author, he's been in since the very beginning. So, and I still have to this day people that say, Kelsey, Stu on that's my favorite article. So people love her humor.
Yeah, so this month you can read and find out why her car is texting her.
Yes.
I wish my car would text me, but I'm not that cool.
Where she continues to come up with her stories, I have no idea.
She has kids.
Yeah,
so
right.
that helps her out a little bit.
Yes, never-ending flow of craziness.
Yes. So let's talk about the book reviews.
Yes.
I actually started part of my career as being a literary critic.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I reviewed books and I talked to authors. And so I love our book review section, and I'm glad that we do it. Because I think in a lot of magazines, it's very hard to get book reviews in.
Yeah.
And so I think giving them a voice is just important.
It is. And we have a great locally owned bookstore that has been around for, 50 years. They've been around for a really long time. So Brace Books and More, they're located on 14th Street. I remember calling Tara Anson originally when we were starting the magazine. I said, hey, would you guys like to do book reviews? She immediately jumped on it, and they just do such a great job every month bringing us new and interesting. They have one adult book review and one children's book review.
Right. But, whenever I first started, I separated them as an adult and a children's book. Yeah. And then at one point I was like, I read children's books.
True.
I read young adult books.
I love young adult. Yeah, I do too.
So I took away the adults and children and decided that it could be whatever it wanted to be.
Yeah.
This month is special because we have a book review for The Boy Who Carried Bricks.
Yeah.
And this is the reason I wanted to talk about this was the author is from Stillwater. Mm-hmm. And so anytime we have an author that's close to home, I want to highlight them.
Absolutely.
And so this is by Alton Carter. It's The Boy Who Carried Bricks. Alton is a former foster child and police officer. So his books kind of write about his trials through the foster care system.
Yeah.
He also wrote a book called Aging Out, and that deals with what happens whenever a child is aged out of the system. So so definitely check out that. Go buy Brace books and check out The Boy Who Carried Bricks.
Yeah.
And so we talked about it briefly, but I want to go back and talk more about the crossword puzzle.
Yes.
Because our crossword puzzle is special.
It's so special. So Patrick Jordan is a crossword puzzle artist or crossword puzzle author. And they're so rare anymore. He's been in the newspaper business for a very, very long time. And he has written custom crosswords for newspapers all over the country, for the New York Times. We actually did a big article on him, and we'll share that on social media. I love to share some throwbacks sometimes. But there just are not a lot of crossword puzzle artists out there anymore. So he's a treasure. He's a gem. He's from Ponca City, and I just love that he writes for our magazine.
Yes. So whenever you're doing our crossword, know that you have a special crossword that was made specifically for us.
Yes.
It's not something that we just pulled off the web. But it's something that we actually get to have created, and that's pretty amazing. And
every month, Patrick will say, Kelsey, what do you want the topic to be this month? And so he'll give me a couple different options, and I pick what I want, and then he writes it. And I get so much feedback from people that say, I can never do crossword puzzles, but I can do the crosswords in Ponca City Monthly. And so I really attribute that to the fact that it is created by a real human being for human beings. And so it's challenging, but it's not so challenging that nobody can do it. And same for me, because I love our crossword. I do our crossword. A lot of the other ones I can't do. So
very good.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of wraps up about this month's issue.
Yeah.
We are going to be doing this podcast weekly.
Yes.
Almost.
Yeah.
I hope.
Every week.
Every week. We have new guests and new things to talk about. Some of the other podcasts are going to be more interview related. So we're going to be bringing in some fun people to talk.
Yep. I'll be popping in and out here and there. So depending on the topic.
Definitely.
I'll just surprise people.
Yeah. Because there are some topics that you know way more about, politics and stuff like that for me, I just sleep through. I slept through. Oh, gosh. I barely got through government class.
I do know a thing or two about politics. But,
you have a little bit of background.
A little bit.
So I think thanks for joining us. Yeah. And we'll be back next week. And definitely sign up if you haven't.
Yeah.
And like us. All those fun things.
Yes. Yep. Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.